Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a weekly garden tour. Today, I am celebrating fall color, standing here next to this Acer Negundo, which has been planted in the ground for a decade with no water, no fertilizer, and no pruning. And today, it is in its full fall color glory. So let's go take a stroll and see what else is looking beautiful on this middle of November garden tour here in Central North Carolina, Zone 7. As you can see, this border is packed full of trees and shrubs, planted far too close together, but this is my style. And there's that Acer Negundo. Next to it, this is Quercus warei long, also sold as Regal Prince. And this is a hybrid oak, part Quercus robur, the English oak. And again, 10 years in the ground, it's never been pruned. I irrigate this bed very infrequently. And on this corner, we've got the trident maple. And this Acer doesn't look so great. I don't usually get very good fall color on this. Maybe partly because it's stressed. Overall, this bed is, I can't believe how so many of the leaves have fallen just in the last week, and it's been a really warm, wonderful week. We do have 30 degrees predicted for Sunday night and 28 for Tuesday night. So I would definitely say this is the last time for any of the real summer plants to be a part of a 2021 garden tour. But that's okay. I wasn't ready 2 weeks ago, but I am ready now for the change of seasons. You can see we've harvested all the squash from here, and I'm just gonna let this border get frosted before I rip it out. I'll be planting this on Black Friday and sharing lots of videos on that process. Do have some sesame to still harvest from here. And these are definitely the last hours of this tropical front border. 30 degrees will make a lot of this go to mush, and then it'll be really easy to dig it out and get it prepped for the next season of planting. So I haven't totally figured out the design. I want it to be more organized than it was last year, so I have to put some thought into it. The senna, the salvias, and the dahlias. I love this combination. I can't wait to do it again next year. I can't believe the bee activity in the garden in general, but especially here with all the different dahlias that are still in bloom. Love that Carolina blue sky. And really happy with how this border turned out this year, and excited to get to plant a new one. Now across here, this is where I planted bulbs and direct seeded things like lettuce and poppies a week ago. I'm happy to show you that the lettuce is all germinating. So that's a lettuce border all the way across the front, in addition to a bunch of garlic. I don't see any of the poppies germinating yet, but they usually germinate at about 15 days, and we're at like 8 days. So it's gonna be still a little while longer, probably by next week. And of course, that window box with the native carex looks awesome. But really the star of this bed right now is this Lindera. I still call it Lindera salicifolia, but I think it's angustifolia now. And it's starting to really get its intense fall color. And this plant has a tardily deciduous habit, so it'll actually hold on to its tan foliage all winter, creating, I think, a really interesting bit of winter interest. So this is definitely a plant I highly recommend. Actually, just recommend Lindera in general. I want to make sure I have more native trees, shrubs, and perennials represented in the property next door. That way I have a well-rounded landscape in the future. So we'll take a stroll around the north side property. The Acer japonicum aconitifolium is also in its fall glory, looking amazing. This is really one of my favorite Japanese maples. It's different from Acer palmatum, where this is Acer japonicum, and the fall color is so intense and brilliant. It's awesome. I also really like the Solomon seal underneath, and of course these evergreen carex. The Mahonia eurybracteata has been in bloom for about a week, and that is another one of my favorite plants that just looks great year-round, but I especially love it when it's in bloom. And of course the chrysanthemums are all doing their thing, and I use chrysanthemums just to kind of fill up open space, let them scramble between trees and shrubs. And it's really kind of remarkable how well mums will do even in a lot of shade, because this has definitely become a shady corner. I'm thinking that I'm gonna have this Yoshino cryptomeria taken out, and because I don't need it, and that will help provide more sun into this area. But you can see how well this is done as a ground cover. Same thing over here, ground cover of all these sedums that you generally associate with being in full sun, but here they are in dense shade doing great. The Alstroemeria is a great, nearly evergreen through the whole winter, one of my favorite plants for putting in floating arrangements. And I just need to remember to bring this aloe in, because 30 degrees will definitely impact that succulent container. In fact, I need to just bring that to the back porch today while I'm thinking of it. Still more tomatoes. It's amazing how tomatoes will do with cooler temperatures. You know, look how healthy that foliage is, and they're actually still producing. So I'll make one more pass through before Sunday to collect any fruit, let them, even the unripe ones, ripen inside. I am 100% convinced that planting tomatoes the last week of June is what I will do from now on. I'm not going to waste my time and get my heart broken planting them early so that they die of, you know, early summer diseases. I'm just going to wait, and then I'll get tons of harvest. And Sophia agrees. This Cuphea looks so nice. Again, it's really funny how the bees are just like passed out on the plants. They were doing this morning to the dahlias. They're just like resting. There's so much pollinator activity right now. And the powder blue blueberries are really coloring up nice. They look awesome. I did get these pots replanted just a few days ago, and these are primarily direct seeded. So there's a video that shows the process for this. So this one is all lettuce, that is all barley and a different variety of lettuce there. And of course behind here, I did this one of, you know, like several months ago with kale and barley. And behind that is all the arugula. And that is a lot of arugula. It's super delicious. And of course, these bananas have done everything I hoped they would by creating this incredible tropical backdrop. And off to the right, that is Acer palmatum sangukaku, the coral bark maple, showing off its fall color. These beds that I planted a few weeks ago are growing in really nicely. You can see the mustards have gotten significantly larger through the course of the last few weeks, and they'll continue to grow basically all winter. Snapdragons look awesome. That border over there looks especially good with the sun shining through the cabbage leaves. Everything is definitely growing fast, all these cool season annuals. Same thing with this bed, you know, the violas. I love this Miss America mustard. There's just no two ways around it. And lots of seed germination. And these are all poppies. I am so pleased about that. It's going to be a beautiful border, and then of course barley as the backdrop. In the back patio where I stage things to go in and out of the overwintering shed. these will stay out all weekend. Then Sunday night, some of these things will get tucked in. We need to harvest a bunch of these limes because they're ready. And that, of course, goes in and out of the shed all winter. And just a reminder, plants are awesome. The ginger lily, Hedychium cornarium, continues to bloom, and it smells like heaven. I can't believe how many raspberries there still are. They're kind of all over these big canes. They're so good. I'm not very good at sharing raspberries, I'll admit. I love them. I managed to get quite a lot planted out of here, but still some left. There's more beds to plant. And of course, I have a lot of peppers still to harvest before Sunday. And all the cool season crops that were planted in here about 6 or so weeks ago are doing great. I'm hoping to have some broccoli for Thanksgiving, but it might be December before I have broccoli to harvest. Of course, the bees continue to love the Salvia leucantha. There's a little honeybee. Tons of pollinator activity on this plant. Just can't say enough about it. It's just overall a plant. If you live in zone 7 or warmer, you should definitely include Salvia leucantha. Well, the hamamelis is showing off some good color, and you know, the Seminole pumpkin will get frosted down and will be a little easier to tear out. And the rose over here really has been spectacular. It's just covered in blooms. I don't remember the name of it, but it really is wonderful. And I love it with that variegated dogwood behind it. The pink and white really pop. You can see buckwheat. Deer have been really busy coming through the garden and eating. They've been eating a lot of buckwheat. The wheat planted proper in here is doing really well. See those clumps? The buckwheat will also melt with frost, which is sort of the intention. And I finally have some blooms, or at least one bloom, on this October Magic Bride Camellia, one of my favorites. So the next week I'll definitely tackle a lot more of these beds and get them planted for the winter. I have big plans for a video featuring harvesting off of this ginger. Just didn't get to it this week. And of course I want to get this workspace cleaned up, and all of these Plectranthus will get tucked in to the heated shed before the frost. And these are definitely the last days to enjoy the sweet potato arch, which has definitely brought me an extreme amount of joy. And I really do love it with that self-sown castor bean backdrop on the other side of the fence. And you can see the pseudolarix right there in its fall color. This is definitely a favorite spot in the garden. I've taken ample photographs, and I'm gonna hopefully do this in all the places where I have arches next season. As I pan through the south side, the Papyrus is really quite impressive. And of course the Cuphea micropetala. It's always a showstopper, and every year it gets bigger. In the late afternoon, this is covered in pollinators, as is this Justicia, which isn't the most beautiful specimen, but for some reason bees go nuts. And there's actually a bunch of bees on here. They're just like sleeping right now. You see little bee butts everywhere. At about 3 o'clock, this just erupts with pollinator activity. It's really quite great. Hopefully you watched my very satisfying video of me power washing this area. Oh my gosh, that brings me so much satisfaction. Whenever I feel disorganized, I just watch that time lapse. And of course we got the wall replanted with barley. Hasn't germinated yet, but it will soon. there's some seed. It's starting. You see, it's starting to germinate. Look at that. So by next week, you'll see green in this wall. And I got all the planters redone out here in the front border. And I got this section kind of opened up and cleared out. This was getting a little bit tight, a little claustrophobic. And now the front porch area is nice and wide open. Great to greet visitors. And Sunday I will be busy bringing in all of these edible pumpkins and squash, specifically the Seminole pumpkins and the Cuphea squash. They've become a very important part of my diet since I'm like allergic to everything and I don't want to waste any of these. The others are all grown, you know, for ornamental. I'm not going to bring those inside. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this week's garden tour. Be sure to tune in next week. It'll be a completely different space once we actually do have a killing frost here in the next couple of days. And be sure to subscribe. That way you will stay up to date with all the things that I'm doing in the garden each week as the seasons change. I'm going to be really busy getting lots of things like poppies and larkspur sown over the coming weeks. Remember, my target date for that is Black Friday. And I appreciate you all tuning in so much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thanks, everybody.